It's Thursday, November the 10th. Lake level actually came up a little bit from the rain we had this weekend. Come up about 6 inches, 8 inches. It's 9, 10 and a half. Water temperature's kind of bouncing all around, depends where you're at. It's still pretty warm, anywhere 58, 60 degrees. It's almost 80 degrees today. It's crazy weather. Tomorrow, probably not going to get, much above freezing. Or once the front comes in, it's going to get down below freezing. Looks like it's going to stay there for several days. But before we get into the fishing, I didn't do a fishing report last week. I was at Truman Lake fishing the Anglers in Action Championship. And I need to give a shout out to Jimmy and Jackie Davis. They won the championship up there at Truman Lake. It's no surprise, them two have been doing that stuff for about 30 years. But congratulations to them. And the fish bit pretty good up there at Truman for us. We just could not get around any good quality bites. We ended up, cashing a check. But, as far as Table Rock, I think the fishing's, for the most part, pretty tough. But things are changing a little bit. I have been out a few days. Today we did a deal out of Bass Pro Shop. Johnny Moore's Fishing for Dreams put it on. It's a deal for the veterans. We took out 54 vets this morning fishing. And it was a really good event. And I also want to thank all the veterans, people that have served in the past, people that are serving now for their service, for keeping us safe and keeping us free to do what we love to do. But like I say, as far as the fishing on Table Rock, I'm finding when the wind blows, and when I was up at Truman this past week, we had some pretty high winds. And I guess they bit a crankbait, and they bit a lot of different baits pretty shallow up here on Table Rock. And since I've been back, the couple days I got out to fish, one day was real still, and we had pretty good little breeze today. But you can catch them up there on a crankbait, on a rock crawler, or a bait that'll run 5 to 12 feet deep. A lot of different baits will work in that depth, but I'm finding that the thermocline's pretty well broke up, and the fish are really starting to scatter. I'm seeing a lot of bait out in the centers of the creek, starting to see some fish underneath them, which is typical, late fall pattern. I think it's going to get really good in the next few weeks. This cold snap we got coming in next week, I think, is really going to help the shallow and the deep bite out. But certain areas of the lake have got some big gizzard shad up on the bank, and I'll grab them here in a minute, but a swim bait that I think should work out there. But what I've been throwing up on the bank, and I've been fishing more bluffy, bluff style banks with little channel swings that got timber on them. It seems like a lot of my fish here are coming pretty close to the main lake, and it was kind of the same way for us at Truman Lake. It was pockets just off of the main lake. We still couldn't get very much going way back in the creeks. But here on Table Rock, it seems like if I got wind crashing in on a bank, I can catch them on a rock crawler. And I talked about this a few weeks ago, but this is the new 50DD rock crawler. It's a little bit smaller bait than the standard rock crawler, a little bit deeper bill, and it'll get down there 12, 13 feet on 10 to 12 pound line pretty consistently. And I know a lot of guys say, some prefer a wiggle wart over a rock crawler or vice versa. But if you're a wiggle wart guy, you need to check these baits out. I mean, they really get down there good, come through the cover real well. Another one that worked for us today was the Stone Cold. And like I say, a lot of the fish were up there pretty shallow. We were keeping the boat about 18 to 20 foot of water parallel on the bank. And a couple times, we got hooked up on some brush. When we went in there to get the baits, we spooked out some really good largemouth that were up there dead shallow. Now you can try to catch them on a spinner bait or a chatter bait, or one other bait I like to throw quite a bit this time of year is a mega bass, mag draft, either a 6-inch or 8-inch. This is a big bite swim bait here, an 8-inch. I've just got it kind of Texas rig, but I've got a treble hook in the bend of the hook there. The Mega Draft baits, they actually got a little magnet inside the bait, which will help hold the treble hook up in there. But I've actually been doing better, and normally this time of year on the big one, on the 8-inch. And I'm trying to fish it on the bluff ends, around rock transitions, a lot of the same places I'm fishing a crankbait, but you fish it up there dead shallow. Anytime you see that big gizzard shad up there, there's a good chance to be some bigger fish feeding on them. You won't get a lot of bites on them, but you'll get some good bites. Now, another little bait, with been catching some fish on them same type, bluffs and bluff ends on a jig. Been throwing anywhere from a 3/8 to a 1/2 ounce jig, working it through the timber on the still days. A lot of times you got to get around to the base of the trees to catch them fish. But a new little head that I got from Gamakatsu, if you're throwing like small type baits, this thing has got a 1/0 hook in it, and I've got it rigged up here with a collar's craw, a big bite collar's craw, which is a 3.5-inch bait. But it really works good for fishing deep because it's got the fine wire hook on a small bait. It's kind of got like a football style head with a recessed line tie. It's really been working good, especially for them, like out there on them long flat gravel points, them roll-offs around some of the brush piles. You need to try that. And one thing that's coming up to, or not coming up, but for you online shoppers, you need to check out omniafishing.com. They got Black Friday sales. I think they actually started yesterday. So they got some super discounts, and it's a pretty neat deal. It's, similar to like a tackle warehouse, except you can go on there and put in what lake that you're fishing. I went in there the other night, put in Table Rock Lake, and it's got suggested baits for this time of year. And I also come across Jeremy Lawyer doing a little deal on what type lures he uses in the fall, and also Bassmaster Elite Fisherman Cody Huff, was talking about, did a little video on how he approaches Table Rock this time of year fishing suspended fish. So if you get a chance, you need to check them out at omnia.com. And just about everything that I'm talking about as far as the tackle, you can get online. Don't even have to get up off your chair. Now, what I'll be throwing out there deep, I'm going to be in the centers of these creeks. The gulls are starting to show up quite a bit. And I like to throw a Rapala ice fishing jig, a 7/8 ounce, or anywhere from a 3/4 ounce to a 1 ounce white slab spoon. And basically, we're just chasing these fish around with forward sonar. We're looking for the groups of shad and trying to find the shad underneath the fish. Sometimes they'll be up there 15, 20 foot, but you might be in 80 to 100 foot of water. Thing is, you got to take a little bit of time idling around, but normally if you can see gulls, that is the best place to start, because if you find the gulls, the bait's going to be right up underneath them. And when we did that deal today for the veterans, the owner, Gail Julian from Jewel Bait Company, was there, and he gave us all a new bait. I guess they've been selling them like crazy. It's a pretty neat looking deal. It's kind of like a, jig and wrap / spoon, but it's got a blade on it. And it's not just an ordinary blade. If you look at the blade, it's got like a twist and a cup. So this bait just falling, you don't have to be retrieving the bait to get the blade to spin. Just as it's falling, it's got a natural, almost like the pitch in a prop. It's got a little, I guess you'd call a little pitch to it. As it's free falling, it's spinning, and you can really feel this thing when you're reeling it. You jig it up or reel it up a little bit. It's got a lot of throb to it. And it's the first one I've got. I just got it today. I was playing with it a little bit. But it's called a scope spin. I think it's going to be a pretty awesome bait out there, chasing these shad and stuff out there. One thing I hadn't even talked about, the way we caught them up there at Truman Lake was on a spinnerbait, chatterbait, and a square bill. And the same thing will work here. If you get up in the river arms, I came across Flat Creek Bridge the other day, and I noticed this bait all out in the middle of the creek there. The water come up a little bit, so it's got a little bit more cover to throw at, but the whole key up there is the bait. Normally what I throw is like a 165, a Spro 165, or like a 1.5 or 2.5, depending on the depth, or even like a Fritz flat-sided bait. I just try multiple different crankbaits, but I, stay with something that runs less than 6 feet, and either get on the rock banks or on any kind of snags you can find out there in the middle of the river. And as the water cools down, like I say, I don't think the fish are gonna jump right into anything with this cool front, but I think by beginning to midweek next week, I'm hoping that we'll see these fish make a transition, start coming up, more of them a lot shallow. There is some quality fish up there right now, but you just got to cover a lot of water to get to them. I'm hoping as that water cools down, we're going to see, more gizzard shad and more bait moving around. So if you get a chance, check out omniafishing.com. And until next week, good luck, good fishing.